Well, it's first impressions time again, and today we're looking at this kit. Well, actually it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kits. Yes, hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. It's first impressions time, and we're looking at this, the Airfix 1:72 scale World War II RAF bomber resupply set, which I always assumed was a really old kit, but it's not. It's actually a 2013 tooling, so nowhere near as old as I suspected it was. Yeah, I'm interested to see what I think about this. So it's a skill level 2 kit, comes with 2 flying hours. As always, it lists the paints that we need, but we've got some nice detail on some of these. So you've got some nice imagery of what you're going to get in the box, which will be really interesting. Got a little bit of history here. It says, as the air war over occupied Europe progressed and developed, so did the equipment used by the RAF and its Bomber Command. Specialist vehicles were introduced to supply arms and equipment to waiting machines, and maintenance tasks were made easier through the introduction of specialist equipment. The mechanisation of these tasks and duties is well represented in this set. Whilst not as glamorous as their flying counterparts, the contribution played by trucks, tractors and vans, as well as the men that crewed them, cannot be forgotten. Could not agree more. So there you go, that's that side. This side we've got our standard sort of warnings and trademark references. Ends of the box are pretty much the side. You'll notice that this is not a top opening box, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then on the back here you get a nice sort of representation of what's in the box. Sort of. This is not 2. You get the cab and the chassis, and you have to decide which back you're putting on. So you're putting the tanker on, but you've got a tanker trailer there, so I'm most likely to do it soft top, I would think. But it gives you all the stuff that you need for a big diorama, or you can break this down and have a Tilly next to a fighter in one diorama. You can have fuel tank next to a Wellington in another diorama, tractor pulling guns down the field past a bombs past a mosquito in another diorama. You know, you've got so many options with this. I absolutely love the flexibility of this kit. So as I say, it's not a top opening box, but I don't mind when the contents are in a tray. So that is our box contents. We've got our instructions, and we've got a bag full of parts in the familiar old style blue plastic, and we've got a perhaps smaller than you'd expect sheet of decals, but they're all divided up for all the different models. So yeah, really nice. And we've got decals for the bombs there, so we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let's have a look at the instructions. So we have a typical A4 portrait style stapled coloured instruction manual, what you'd expect from Airfix. We then have a more expanded history than we got on the box, with some thanks, tells us to wash our parts. Then we've got some assembly instructions, and then we've got our assembly icons at the bottom, all standard stuff. And then when we get into the instructions themselves, what they've done is they've put at the top what the kit is, so you know what you're building, and there'll be no doubt several of these in different, there you go, standard Tilly. So we've got lots of different instructions all bound together. So we're starting with the Bedford truck. We've got a chassis, which seems relatively detailed, all in one piece, but you've got the exhaust system already moulded in. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. We've got the fuel tanks on the side that have tops, and then we've got an engine with the drive shaft and gear stick there. It is asking us to remove a part, so I don't know whether they use this kit in a different format somewhere else, quite possibly, because they've got the D-Day landing sets and various things which are this scale, so quite possible. Then in step 2 we're building up the cab, so we've got what looks a little oversized from the instructions, might be better in the plastic. Steering wheel, we've got the seats, we've got a decal going in there for some dials, so that's really nice. Lowering that into place, backboard going in, nice clear instructions. We've not got the little red thing showing you what happened last, so these instructions probably predate that change. Then we've got the rear axle going on in 5, sorry. In 6 we add the suspension for the front, and then in 7 we're looking at adding the wheels, and we compose the front wheels. So that's lovely, gives you a bit of animation. Then we're building up the bonnet, so looks to me like your only real option is closed. You might be able to modify it to get it open. Then we've got it looks like quite a chunky piece of clear plastic there that's going to go in the back, so you might want to replace that with acetate. And it's got moulded in windscreen wipers, but at this scale that's fine. Then we're putting in the side doors, so I'm assuming that they are also clear parts that you have to paint up. Be interesting to see. We can pose the doors open, so that's really nice. Then we're building up the soft top roof. It's got some little side pillars in there showing you exactly where they mount. That's really nice. And then we're plopping that on top, and then we carry on by building up. Well, we've got what they're doing is they're running the steps together. So if you want to do the soft top, you follow this side, and if you want to do the tanker, you follow that side. So all of these are options. So with the tanker, you're adding some pipe work and bits and pieces. That's really nice. And here we're adding the mud guards and framework underneath the floor pan for the soft top. Then we're adding sides, putting the two tanker halves together. We've got the extension side pieces and the back gate, which no doubt we can model open if we wish. And here we are putting in, looks like there's some detail in there that you're then covering up. So that looks like one piece, but we might be able to cut it down so we can hinge that open, which would be rather nice. Then completing the soft top, it's just a box that plops on top, so you could leave it off because it looks like we've got detail in there. We'll see better when we look at the plastic. And then here we're putting on the mudguards frame underneath. So carrying on in the same way with the split builds, we're installing the bottom of the truck, then adding the top, and there's a spare wheel to go in there. So you could have a mess around with that, make the loops and maybe do something, make your own tarpaulin so you can mess around a little bit, and that completes your truck. In this one we've got a spare wheel also going on, which goes on the side. That's interesting. And then putting the tanker on, then you have to flip it upside down and put the whatever that is into the frame of the tanker to complete your tanker. So 20 steps, or or so. It says 20A there. Oh, right, okay, yeah, I see. So 20 steps all in all to build your Bedford truck in whichever configuration you want. Right, next we're moving to the build of the Tilly. And this looks like a slightly more simplified build than before. We've got less steps. So step one, we're building up the back end. We've got the two side pieces, the floor pan there, the back piece there, and you can see that that's wooden slats on the back. It looks like there's a mounting point for a spare wheel. Then we're putting in the chassis frame, again molded in exhaust and stuff. That worries me a little bit, that we're going to have seams and detail that's a bit chunky, but we'll see. Then we've got seats going in, building up the bonnet. Again, doesn't look like an option to have this open, so if you want to have it open, you might have to mess around with it, although I don't think we've got an engine in this one. We've got a sump, but not an engine, I don't think. Then we're mounting it onto the mudguards. Then we're building up the firewall. We've got decals for dials again, steering wheel going in, and we've got all our paint instructions as we go. Then we put those two parts together and mount that onto the chassis, so no engine. In 10, we've got the little suspension frame for the front axle. I think we've got the axle on there, the steering rod on there, again, all looking a little chunky maybe. Then in step 11, we're putting the rear wheels on. So they're going into square pegs, so you've not got an option for them to rotate. You've got spare wheel going on the back, and then the front wheels going on. We've got our paint instructions, and it looks like we've got flats, so as they don't turn, we've got weighted wheels, so that's a nice touch. In this scale, a nice touch. Then step 13, we're adding the doors, and then we're building up the roof, which you link together separately and then plop it on. So 15 steps and you've done a Tilly. So all looks fairly nice, that really, doesn't it? It's all about how the plastic parts look, really. Again, we can pose the front wheels, so yeah, no issues there. And that then takes us over to the tractor. So step one of the tractor, we're putting in, I think that's the rear axle, bit hard to tell with it being upside down. Then we've got a chassis frame going in, the front end with an exposed part of the engine, but with the covers on, and then I think that's the fuel tank, isn't it? In the firewall there. I'm not 100% sure. Got the exhaust going in, again, decal for dials, which is nice. Mounting that onto our turned up floor pan piece, which is all moulded in with the mud guards. Then we've got not quite sure what that is. It looks like some form of winch or something like that being mounted on the back in step 7. Then we've got a bench style seat being mounted on there at 8, so I'm guessing you could get more than one person into this. Then we've got looks like a battery box, but I'm not sure that it is. Also in 8, and then in step 10 we're adding the rear wheels, the larger wheels, and then in 11 again we've got posable front wheels. Think we might have flats on them as well, looking at it, but we can check that out. Then we've got a lamp going on the front in step 12, and right, then we've got an option. We've got this item going on, which you can have either in its stowed position or deployed. So I guess for towing, to lock it to stop it being dragged backwards. So what's that? 13 steps to build the tractor. Yeah, pretty cool. I strangely like tractors, don't know why. Then we're on the oil bowser. So that is the tanker-like body that's towed. It's not a vehicle in itself. So we're starting with a base frame, and we're adding some equipment in there. So we'll be able to detail paint that, whether that'll look really cool. Step 2, we put the two tanker halves together, then plop it in place. Looks like we've got a rotating trailer, so that's really handy. That means that we can move it, have a bit of animation to it. So whether it's hooked up to a vehicle like the tractor and coming around a corner, or it's uncoupled and it's not in a straight line, you've got all those options there. So brilliant. Then we're then taking this base frame and mounting it in. Step 6, we put the back end of. Right, okay, this is interesting. So I hadn't spotted that, but in step 1 there you can see it. There's like a little toolbox with all these tools. Then they're closing it up. So, and again, it looks like a single piece. So you might be able to cut through that and open that up, because it's a shame to cover that up when you could have it open and see that detail. That's what I'd like to do. Again, we've got weighted wheels, again, non-rotating, but adding those in there. Step 7. Right, and then we do go over the page. Step 8, we've got opening doors at this other end, however, where we've got all this equipment, which is nice, but not quite sure why they didn't do that at both ends. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we've got options there for closed and open. Or of course you could have one open and one closed, whatever you fancy. Then we're putting the trailer arm on. Again, we've got an option for mounting it down or up. So you're going to have to glue it in, fix it into position. And it just show you there where it goes in. It looks like at its lowest point, it doesn't like sort of rest on the floor. So yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. So that's the oil bowser gone. Then we move on to building the trestle. So it's basically a scaffolding set on wheels. So we've got a base section. We've got 2 large frames that we're then gluing together. There's no paint instructions for it, which is interesting, at least at the early stage. Right, okay, and then we've got a base frame going on with the towing arm on, and then it shows you, right, the positions of that depending on whether you want it down or up. So basically what they've done, the clever design, you've got your base plate there with these legs on, and you have it with the long part of the leg down for deployed, or the long part of the leg up for being towed. So when you build it, you've got to know what you're going to do with it in the end. You can't just build it and then, right, I'll put that on a diorama one day. You've got to know what you're doing with it. Then we're putting the wheels on, and then we've got another platform to go in there, which allows them to work at height. I'm surprised there isn't some form of ladder or something to get them up there. I guess they just climbed up on the frame. I don't know. Right then. Last page of instructions. So we've done all the main builds now, and we're on trolleys and bombs. So all the bombs, you'll be familiar with a number of these because they're used in various different aircraft kits. So 2-piece bombs with separate tails, or the canisters with separate ends. It's not giving you the paint and decal instructions at this point, but it's telling you how many you've got. You've got 6 of them, 6 of them. Then you're building up your trolley. So it's basically all molded in one, and you add the wheels. So again, that worries me a little bit. And you've got we got options, or yeah, I think that's options. Yeah, okay. So in that, as built, we can put these canisters on, and we can take looks like 2 different canisters that we can then plop on there, or we can do some modifications and trim those little wedge blocks off and put some other bits and pieces in, building and put multiple bombs on. So yeah, need to look at that to understand that. That's not as clear to me as I'd like it to be. Right, yeah, I need to understand that a bit better. But you've basically got an option for putting those on, or multiple bombs. Then we've got building up the motorbike, which appears to be 3 pieces. So you compose the front wheel and the handlebars are separate. Then we've got a ladder, which is handy. And again, we can model that open or closed. We've got some form of toolkit. We've got chocks, we've got fuel can, we've got a toolbox, we've got a bicycle, and we've got an oil drum. Really nice. So let's have a look at our paint schemes. Bomber Command, Royal Air Force, mid-1943. So we've got our Bedford truck there, which is showing it in the camouflage scheme for the tank. It's not the easiest thing to see, but you've got your paint scheme there. It's pointing out the instructions. Paints are listed at the bottom, and then you've got decals being called out, and it's the same with the Tilly camouflage decals coming out. The black doesn't show so well. Then we've got the Bedford in its soft top option, which isn't camouflaged and appears to have a few less decals than the tanker version. And then I'm not sure what that is. That is continuation of the Tilly. Right, okay, different angles, different places. So yeah, Tilly there, Bedford tanker there. Right, got it. Let's turn it over. And we've got the oil Bowser there, which again is camouflage with a black top, and it's showing you the 2 sides there. Then we've got the tractor, which again appears to have a little bit of camouflage on it. It's got a green seat, but it's not pointing out the colour, so I don't know if it did in the instructions, but I don't think it did. 30 dark green. Right, don't know. And then we've got the various ordnance and other bits of kit, showing us where we've got lots of decals on the bombs, which really brings them to life. We've also got decals on whatever that is, and even on the toolbox. Lovely. That's a nice set of instructions. Let's have a look at the parts. Right, let's start with the decals actually. So we've got nice cartograph decals, all divided up and labelled, so we know that's for the Bedford, the Tilly, the tractor, and so on. So they don't do that anymore, but you get that on these. You get it all divided up, nice and easy to navigate. We've got lots and lots. I mean, most of the decals here are actually for ordnance. You've got the incendiary bombs, 5 and 10,000 bombs. You've got whatever that is, 4,000 HC bomb. And you've got the oil Bowser there on its own. But really nice decals, as you'd expect from Airfix, because they're always cartograph. Nice and vibrant, and it's lovely that we've got all of this for the ordnance, because it's really going to give you a sense of realism in miniature, which is what you're trying to get. So yeah, happy with those. So my first sprue out of the box is the oil Bowser, the trailer, and we appear to have all of the parts on here, plus we've got some additional parts. And I'm not quite sure what they are. I saw them on the back of the box, but we've actually got half a dozen of them here. So not quite sure what was contained in there. But there's some form of box that has something strapped to the top, and they're all the same, so I don't know. What I'm going to say is the instructions have not done the actual parts justice, because they looked a little bit chunky in places, but actually these aren't bad at all. We've got some nice fine pipe work moulded there, so we'll have a look at those exhausts in a minute on the others. Yeah, we've got nice bolt detail or rivet detail on there. The handles are nicely done. The toolbox with the tools, yeah, again, it's a lovely. There's a little bit of sink in it, but you're not going to notice it, and it's easy to fill. So whichever way you go. There's more tools lying around near here as well, so that's great. And then look at this with all the little gauges and pipe work on. That's actually quite nice. I mean, I haven't built 172 stuff since I was a kid, realistically. Other than aircraft, I hardly touch 172, so this is really surprising me. We've got nice weighted tyres, so they're going to look the part. Yeah, very nice. And with the hubs with all the fasteners on, really good. And then the open doors, we've got ejector pin marks in the back. But what I would suggest is the doors are probably a little thick anyway, so probably sand them out and thin that down a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, that's all right, isn't it? There's some lovely little details on this. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this at all. Very nice. Right, let me take you some pictures. What we'll do is we'll look at each sprue and then show you some pictures of each one as we go. So next sprue out, sprue D, appears to have the tractor. So we've got the big chunky wheel there, which again has a flat on it. And then we've got the small wheels there. Again, they're also weighted quite, I was going to say quite a bit of seam on there, but actually supposed to have that seam on. It's part of the tread, although it does get interrupted by the sprue gate, so a bit of clean up on there. We can see a little bit of the engine there, so but you know, the steering wheels, which looked really chunky in the instructions, actually they're not. they're quite nicely done, so not a problem at all. We've got our little lamp there, the little chassis with the hook on, all nicely done. This is the main tractor floor pan with the moulded in. Yeah, I mean, they look a bit thick, don't they? If you look at them that way, perhaps want to see if you can. I mean, I'm guessing there's a rolled lip, in which case that might be right. But yeah, it looks like they have given it a rolled lip. But my first impression is they're a bit thick, but possibly not. Then we've got, that's the firewall there, isn't it? With the little dials there. So again, some of these decals are going to be really tiny. And then we've got a fair amount of ordnance on here. Some of the moulding you can see on the tail fins there, it's a bit blocked up in places. Whether we'll be able to sort that out, I don't know. Possibly drill it out and then shape it with a knife, possible. Rest of the ordnance is quite nicely done. You've got all these little mounting pegs which won't get seen when it's mounted on the trailer, but yeah, very nice. There's even a little bit of texture on the chairs. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing really, other than that little bit of extra plastic that we don't need in those. Okay, Sprue F now, and this is all. So this is the big Ordnance and the trolleys. Now, I didn't appreciate in the instructions there's actually multiple trolleys. I thought there was one trolley that you can build up with different options depending on which bombs, but no, there's multiple trolleys, and so you can actually have a little convoy of trolleys being towed by that tractor. You know, you've got what have we got here? We've got 3 trolleys. You know, that's great. So you could have the fuel bowser and then 3 trolleys all being towed along if you wanted. We've got the bicycle, we've got the large bomb halves, and then we've got the little trolley with the platforms on, so that they can get up to the wings or whatever, and the ladder, and we appear to have the wheels for the motorbike, but not the motorbike. And I've got to say, all right, so the spokes look fine. The spokes look fine. It gives you the right impression, which is what you're looking for. The barrel's got a little bit of dents in it, so that's a nice touch. The chocks, they're all hollow at the bottom, but you're not going to see that. So, and that prevents them from having sink. The only thing I'd say is you might want to put a little bit of string on there, a little loop, so you've got the little hand pulls for them. So that'd be a nice, easy modification. The fuel cans, the handles are filled in, but you could use a razor saw and split them up a little bit if you wanted. The bicycle, yeah, it's not bad. No spokes in it because they either look too heavy and wrong, so they take them out. You might be able to get photo etch spokes. So certainly there's a bicycle set from Tamiya, and there used to be an upgrade set for it. So you might find that they fit in here as well. So I don't know, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Got a little ejector pin behind the pedal. Shouldn't be a problem to sort that though. There's ejector pins in the bottom of the platforms, I've just noticed, and that could be an issue. They're going to need filling, especially an issue depending on which way around you want to show that. But I like the way they've done the slats, not quite even. Gives you a nice feel of actual wood. Yeah, this is a nice little set. Once you've cleaned off all these little ejector pins and bits and pieces and got your seams cleaned up, it's a good set. I'm not seeing any real issues here. There's no huge amounts of flash or anything. And there's some nice detail in that, and the wheels, the little tires have all got tread on. So yeah, that gives you some weathering options. Yeah, not bad at all. Right, our penultimate sprue, and this is B, and I've just realised that the spoked wheels we were looking at aren't actually for the motorbike. They're for that cradle, because here's the motorbike and it's got its wheels already moulded in. So what we've got the motorbike, the 3 parts. So we've got the handlebar section, the front wheel section, and the main body, and actually it's really nicely represented. You can see all the detail of the engine. The handlebars, the brakes are really finely done. Very, very nice actually. Nice texture on the wheels. Again, wheels are all weighted, although you've got a stand so it's on its stand. You could, with a little bit of patience, remove that if you wanted. I would certainly want to open up the bottom because it's a solid bit of plastic, and actually it'd just be an A-frame leg, I think. So yeah, you probably want to clean that up a little bit if you can, and cut a bit out underneath the tyre. If that's in your skill set, that would certainly help. Then we've got the two back ends to the truck here. So again, I'm not sure I'd appreciated this in the instructions, but you've got a nice end piece here. So it's got lovely texturing on. It looks really nice, but actually you could leave it off, and you've got the framework inside, and you could show the inside and maybe have a bit of rolled up tarpaulin on the top or something like that. So there is some options there, depending on what you want to do. The actual tanker is really nice. Yeah, really nicely done actually. Then we've got the frame for it. There's a spare wheel. That's really lovely. You can see little countersunk holes on the wheel. The steering wheel, again, really finely moulded. Then we've got the closed doors. But there is a little mark on the back, so you've got a guide for cutting it in half if that's your fancy. The tyres, as we saw, all weighted, moulded into the hubs, but look really nice. I mean, even, I'll try and pick this up when we take the photograph, even the axle's got bolt detail on it and stuff, so that's really good. The front face looks really nice. You've got nice texturing of the grille, so that'll pop up nice in a wash. Tailgate is lovely. We do have ejector pins on the inside of things, so if you want that dropped down, you're going to have to scribe the wood into it and get rid of those ejector pins. So a little bit of work if you want the tailgate dropped down. But look, I mean, that's not a separate part. That's all moulded in, and it looks really good and crisp. And yeah, there's a little bit of flash on the windscreen, but you know, it's just on the mould seam, so easy to come off. And then we've got the roof section of the cab there, which again has got some nice natural stretched material look to it. And then we've got this chassis with the exhaust moulded in. Actually, I was expecting it to be really thick and chunky, and it's not. It's actually really nice. You know, you're not going to see the exhaust pretty much. It's hidden behind the frame, but it's there. So really good. And we've got some cables and or pipework or something marked out on the inside here. A couple of unfortunate ejector pin marks on the mud guards. Yeah, so a bit of careful cleanup there, but again, not a big issue. Interesting. Actually, the parts have more finesse than I expected from the instructions. The instructions gave me a feel that this might be a bit chunky, but it's not. I do have a caveat to that, but we'll talk about that at the end. Last of our blue-grey plastic parts, we've got the Tilly on here primarily, and you know, another nice set of parts actually. So I'm looking at my eye got drawn to the wheels first. They look really nice with the hubcaps on. We've got all the detail of the wheel itself with the holes in there. Really nice, really nice. Just a bit of seam removal. Nice, thin, not chunky steering wheel. Grille looks really good. They've moulded the lamps in, but they look really awesome. We've got nice fastener detail around the wheel arches and the petrol caps, crisp. I've got a tailgate there, which is actually done on both sides. Slightly raised ejector pin marks, dead easy to sand them off. There is a little bit of ejector pin marks on the inside, so if you're planning to be able to see in the inside, you're going to have to gently chisel those out. Yeah, the soft top tarpaulin looks really good on it. Yeah, that looks nice, and we've got a rolled up back end so you can look in. Very nice as well. And then we've got this chassis with the moulded in exhaust. Now this exhaust will be much more visible than on the truck, and actually I don't have a problem with it. You just want to go around and define it a little bit. Just scrape round it so what you'll have is you'll have a round surface of an exhaust and then flat sides, and you want to just go around and scrape in the sides just to round it off a little bit, and it looks so much better. And it's literally a couple of swipes with the point of your blade. But look at the finesse on the bumper there. I mean, that's really nice, isn't it? Seats, yep, they look okay. They were fairly simple seats in those days anyway. We've got a nice floor pan with the seat legs moulded in, so the seats sit on top. We've got pins for them to sit on, so nice positive locations. And then we've got these two seats here, which have got a bit of texturing in. So I'm guessing some of these are for the truck as well. Then we've got, that bit's broken away. I'm not quite sure what that bit is. Is it the back wall or something? But that looks fine. We've got the engine with the gear stick and the shaft line in, and you know the manifold's moulded in. It's nice and crisp. A bit of careful clean up and removal actually of the gear stick, but again nice and crisp. So there's nothing wrong with that. Then we've got the slats, they've got gaps in, so they look really fine. And there's ejector pins on the bottom, but they're raised, so easy to remove on the floor pan. Got the little steps in. I mean, you could replace those with wire if you wanted, because they do look a little chunky. And then we've got the other half of the fuel tank, and that's our cabin back window, so we must have glass for that, I think, unless it was open. Yeah, actually I have no issues with that at all. I think that's really nice. Let's take some pics. Our last parts are our clear parts, and we get a sprue, and this always makes me wonder why Airfix do this. So we've got a sprue here with the clear parts on, and we've got parts for different vehicles on here. So we've got two different windscreens and two sets of doors. It makes me wonder why they do that, because they can use that Tilly vehicle in a number of different sets. So why wouldn't they do the clear parts separately, so that they can do the clear parts for the Tilly and you can put it in different sets? So they've got another airfield set, they've got their D-Day invasion sets and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit limited. If you think about, let's take Mini Art as an example. They'll do the parts for a vehicle. They'll do the generic parts and chuck that in, and quite often their kits are made up of the fuel barrels fret that they do, plus some figures from another set, plus a vehicle from another set, and a different back end from another set, and they pull it all together that way, which means they get more use out of the tool, and they get the payback on the tooling cost quicker. So that always wonders me why Airfix don't do that. Anyway, putting that to one side, what we've got is some nicely detailed clear parts. I mean, and it's a lovely idea that they've moulded the windscreen into the firewall there. So you've got to paint the firewall up, but it makes it a lot easier to mask it. But then at the same time, they've done a great big, thick, chunky windscreen for the other vehicle. Now, it could be limitations in moulding and the shape of what the windscreen sits in, why they've decided not to do that. But why have they done it so that you have to push it into the frame and not just done the whole frame separately that you glue in? So it's a bit odd. But we've got, we've got lovely doors that you can paint up and paint the frames up, and it will make the process easier. So I like what they've done there. And it's the same with this. I mean, this is the soft top. We saw the back end was blue plastic, and then in clear plastic, because we've got these little windows in the side, they've done the whole thing in clear, and it looks great. What I don't like, however, is the fact that we've got spidering in 1, 2, 3 of the parts, and they've moulded in the windscreen wipers, and I'm sort of wishing they hadn't, because I could make windscreen wipers from a little bit of brass wire or something like that, and because what we've got is loads of distortion around the windscreen wipers. So yeah, it's nice that they're on there. You can very carefully pick them out, and it will add to the realism, but it does take away because of the distortion. And I've got so much spidering in there that we're going to have to do something with those. I think we're going to have to replace those with acetate, to be honest. It's a bit thick and chunky anyway, so that was probably my plan. And it's the same here. We have this sort of frame, and that frame's caused a fair amount of distortion. They're a bit it's a bit bad for distortion when you consider that's supposed to be a windscreen. Actually, it's not too bad close up. It's just around the wiper there. So we've got ejector pin marks to fill, but none of those obviously are in the areas that are supposed to be clear after painting. So I like the idea. They're not the best set of clear parts I've ever seen, but I don't really have a problem with them. It's just some observations. Yeah. So there we have it. The Airfix 1:72 scale World War II RAF bomber resupply set. Kit number A05330. What are my first impressions? Well, actually, I've been really surprised at how nice this is. I was expecting it to be older tooling, a bit flashy and a bit chunky, but I actually think it's really nice. Now, during the course of filming this, I said I have a caveat. And the caveat to me saying, look, this looks really nice is I don't really build this scale. So I'm really comparing this to Matchbox kit of the 70s, which probably isn't the right thing to do in 2023. So I don't know how this compares as a standard of 1:72 scale vehicles that other manufacturers might do. So I don't know whether Airfix are way off the mark here and behind the times, or they've done a really good job. What I will say is, from my point of view as a modeler who has bought this set because I want to build something around a bomber like they're depicting here, it's good enough for my needs. It covers everything I want. You've got some nice detail painting and options and weathering options, and the detail looks great. So from my point of view, I think it's a lovely little addition. And if we turn it over to the back, it tells you what everything is, which is lovely, because I didn't know what they were, and I now know they're small bomb canisters. So for £4 incendiaries. So I learned something today as well. Well, if we just go through the kit, and think about the components of the kit and how good or bad they are. So instructions, they're slightly older than the more recent instruction style, but they're still very, very clear, easy to follow, well laid out, so I have no problems with the instructions. So if I've got no issues, that's sort of 10 out of 10 for the instructions. Decals, the cartograph, they're beautiful. We've got plenty of them. We can see all sorts of things here, even nice little touches like stuff that they've chalked onto the bomb. And yeah, I think decals, again, spot on, can't fault them. Plastic parts, a little bit of cleanup, but nothing too excessive. No major issues. Lots of nice detail, lots of weighted wheels and little bits and pieces that just add to it, like little dents in the fuel drum and what have you. Couple of little issues with the back end of some of these bombs, but stuff that can be sorted out. So you know, 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. But you know, there's nothing in there that I wasn't expecting, and there was nothing in there that's really disappointed me and I've gone, oh, that's bad. It's all stuff you'd expect to see, and it's just really clean up, and I think they've done a relatively good job. So there's one or two things that you can mark it down for, like the fuel cans that have got blocky handles and stuff, but I don't know whether that's common in 172 or not. In this day and age, I'd expect them to be able to perhaps put a handle in. I don't know. I might be expecting too much, maybe. So that is the plastic parts. Then the clear plastic parts, that's the bit that's let this kit down. And it might be I've fallen unlucky with mine because I've got spidering in there. But you've got 4 flow points into the windscreen, so you're going to have problems. Or potentially have problems. A little bit of distortion, but once you've got it built in, distortion always lessens once you've got some colour behind it. So not a biggie. Some of the parts are a bit chunky, but they've got some really lovely ideas, like moulding all that into one and having clear doors for ease of painting. Really like that idea. So all in all, I haven't got any major issues with it. So yeah, I think it's a really nice kit, and it gives you loads of options for putting bits around your little aircraft model builds, your 172 aircraft. So you can do small little dioramas with one vehicle in, or a trolley with bombs in on its own or something, just to add a little bit of dimension to what you've done, and you'll be surprised how much it lifts the model of the aircraft when you put a fuel can and a bicycle next to it as well. It gives you a little bit of scale, and it gives you a context. So I think it's a really, really handy set, and I'm looking forward to using it. And whether I'm going to use this all in one big one, or I'm going to use break it down into smaller parts, I don't know yet. But there are a number in the gift set section, a number of these little sets, and always worth checking out the age of them. But I've been pleasantly surprised by this. So I think I've got to say, well done Airfix for doing that. It's a nice little set. It's affordable, and it gives the modeler lots of options. So yeah, lovely, absolutely lovely. Hope that was useful. If you've not considered one of these, I might have given you some food for thought, hopefully. So thank you very much for looking in. If you enjoyed the video, you can always hit super thanks to say thank you, and I will see you very soon. So you enjoy your modelling, take care, and bye for now.